Alright, guys. It is Tuesday, April 6th, 2021 at 6:10 p.m. Let's dive headfirst into these news stories. We have a new severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for central Kansas and south central Nebraska through 11 p.m. this evening. Large hail up to 2 inches in diameter, 70-mile-an-hour winds, and a tornado or two possible. This is by Weather Nation. Also, I found it hilarious. From the Super 70s Sports, it says, I believe this is a Pizza Hut the Abraham Lincoln's family frequented. And it's a hilarious picture of an old looking cabin from Pizza Hut. I found it hilarious. Anyways, let's go to the next story. All quakes had reported 3.0 magnitude earthquake in the Philippines about an hour ago. Also, from the Hill, Border Patrol agents have recently stopped two men on the FBI terror watch list from crossing into the U.S. So, hooray for the FBI for actually catching two people on the watch list. Anyways, Bloomberg saying Carnival is threatening to move some of its cruise businesses away from the U.S. ports. So, Carnival is threatening to take away some of its ships as the federal government continues to restrict voyages during the pandemic. So, the Carnival Corporation, the largest cruise operator, is threatening to move some of its business away from U.S. ports as the federal government is restricting some of the voyages. So, heads up for those people heading out in Carnival cruise ships. Anyways, here is a little video of Beautiful Blooms by ABC7. Some awesome spring flowers. Also, in Japan, about an hour ago, a 4.2 magnitude earthquake happened in Japan, in Miyagi, Japan. A lot of 4s and 5s have been happening recently. I think in the past at least 24 hours, we've been getting hit with a lot of 4s and 5s. Alright, next from Mike Jensen. It's warmer in Chicago than Miami. So the temperatures are warmer in Chicago than Miami. That is rather creepy to me, that a lot of the warm weather is happening up north than the south. Also, tonight, by Brad Pavanovich, we are getting another nice flyby from the space station tonight starting at 8:13 p.m. over North Carolina and South Carolina. It will be visible for 6 minutes at max height of 67 degrees, appears northwest and disappears southeast. So the International Space Station is going to be cruising over North Carolina and South Carolina. Alright, from Eric Fisher. Usually we end up getting a nasty end of these setups, but for a change, our pace, we're living in the sweet spot this week, and to the start of the weekend, we're getting mild weather over the United States, some cold over the Midwest, closer to Canada, but the majority of the country is experiencing mild weather. Alright, guys. Also, a 5.1 earthquake happened in the Philippines about an hour ago. All these 5s and 4s just rolling by. Alright, let's see. Another earthquake. A 4.0 in Japan, and a 5.4 in the Philippines. Then, from Dan Leonard, an amazing mid-month blocking pattern set to unfold. Classic spring. So these are the weather patterns that are happening right now for the spring. Alright. Let's see if we find anything else interesting. Alright, so this is the potential, severe storm potential for day 2 severe weather outlook. Looks like a giant avocado over Little Rock from Dallas all the way to Nashville and parts of New Orleans. This is from Ed Piotrowski. So keep an eye on that. I'll leave a link to my channel so you guys can check that out later on if you feel like scrolling through my Twitter page. Alright, let's take a look at the next story. Researchers can now collect and sequence DNA from the air. This is from strangesounds.com. If you'd like to check out their page, they have awesome news stories. So, it says we leave DNA all over the place, including in the air, and for the first time, researchers have collected animal DNA from mere air samples. It says the DNA that living things, humans and otherwise, shed into the environment is called environmental DNA. Collecting environmental DNA from water to learn from the species living there has become fairly common, but until now, no one had attempted to collect animal DNA from the air. We wanted to know whether we could filter the DNA from the air to track the presence of terrestrial animals. We were interested in whether we could use this air DNA as a way to assess what species was present in a burrow or a cave where we could not easily see or capture them, he said. As a proof of contact experiment, Claire and her colleagues tried collecting the DNA from the air in an animal facility housing a model organism or a Nemo rat. The researchers detected both human and mole rat DNA in the air. Both the mole rat and enclosures in the room were enclosed and housed. So, this is what they're reporting now, sharing the sequence that you can pick up DNA from the air. So, that's pretty interesting to me. I don't know how long they've been able to collect DNA samples from the air, but it is quite interesting. Alright, I'll leave the link to the article so you guys can check it out. And next, severe drinking water and farming crisis in India as major tributaries of Ganges River dry up. Normally overwhelming, I can't pronounce that, the Mahendratanaya River flowing through Gajapati district and neighboring Andhra Pradesh in India is now completely dry. Please don't leave horrible messages because I can't pronounce stuff. I do it all the time and I just try my best and move on. Alright, next, a severe drinking water and farming crisis is quickly sweeping across the region. So the river in India is very much lacking in water and drying up. Water shortage has resulted in acute crisis for the farming sector, with thousands of hectares of vegetables devastated. The river disappearance worsens the already critical drinking water crisis in the region. There is so little water, and the company responsible for drinking water supply has to dredge the riverbed to channelize water to the mouth of the suction pipes. The neighborhood of Odisha is building barrages along the river to use the water for electricity and irrigation. You bet people downstream have nothing but dry riverbeds. Meanwhile, officials have decided to supply drinking water to the people with tankers. Alright guys, so that river is pretty much, as you see here in this image. Let me see if I can somehow get this. Alright, here we go. Here's the zoom. Alright, look at that dry riverbed. They're pretty much crossing with carts through it, but I can't pronounce that. The Mahendratanaya River has dried up in India. So please pray for the people in that river. They are in that river and that region. They need prayers from you guys. So please pray for them to at least get some help. Alright guys, next, Newsom from California says California will fully reopen on June 15th if certain conditions are met. It says with coronavirus cases continuing to decline in California as vaccinations increase, Governor Gavin Newsom announced Tuesday that the state's economy could fully open up again as early as June 15th. The fully reopening is contingent on two criteria. The California's COVID-19 vaccine supply is sufficient for all adults who wish to receive the shot, and that hospitalization rates remain stable and low. So that's the news that's coming out of California. It could fully open or reopen. I'll leave the link if you guys want to check that out. And next, the FDA approves first new children's ADHD drug in 10 years. Okay, so the first thing that I thought was, why did it take 10 years for the FDA to even approve or develop any drugs to help these children who have ADHD? So, very iffy to me that it takes that long for them to care again or start doing a process to get, drugs to help people. Just like the cancer and many other drugs that could be developed for helping people, they just kind of leave it on the wayside. Alright, it says here, the first new drug developed in over a decade for children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder has been approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Qualbri, also known as viloxazine, comes in a capsule that is taken daily and is not a stimulant. It makes it harder to abuse the older than older ADHD drugs, nearly all of which contain the stimulants amphetamine and methyltryptamine. Experts say the drugs may appeal to parents who do not want to give their child stimulants. It could be an option for kids who already have a substance abuse problem, dislike the side effects of stimulants, and need additional therapy. Dr. David Goodman told the Associated Press. He's an assistant professor of psychiatry in Johns Hopkins School of Medicine in Baltimore. Goodman said most ADHD patients are prescribed long-acting stimulants, which are harder to abuse to get higher than the original, fast-acting versions of these drugs. Developed by Spernus Pharmaceuticals, Kobe carries a warning about the potential for suicidal thoughts and behavior. That's a big red flag if you guys are taking any medicines. If it has the potential for suicidal thoughts and behavior, keep it in mind to be careful, very careful with it, which occurred in fewer than 1% of volunteers and studies of the drug. So I'll leave the article for you guys to check it out. But it's always iffy to me if somebody or a company decides to find interest again in drugs. If it helps the kids, that's awesome. It's not a stimulant, so they won't be addictive. But keep an eye on the suicidal warnings that could really hurt people. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Hit like and subscribe for more news, and see you guys again next time. Pray for the people in India. Pray for those kids who have ADHD who are dealing with all this that's coming with this new medicine. And pray for the people of California. Hopefully they get to open their state again and everything be alright. Alright guys, see you next time. God bless.